Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 15th, 2021 meeting of the Camden County Board of Education. I'd like to ask if there is any consideration of open session agenda changes.
Yes, sir. Could you remove the board spotlight?
All right. Anything else? I do have one item to add under announcements as well, item B under announcements. Entertain a motion to accept the April 15th, 2021 meeting agenda as amended. Motion by Ms. Idlet that we accept the Camden County Board of Education April 15th, 2021 meeting agenda as amended. Seconded by Mr. Purcell. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. If you would please represent a moment of silence. Thank you. Dr. Farrell, has anyone signed up for public comment?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. I'd like to ask Ms. Lizzie Fields, our senior student school board representative, to lead us in the pledge. If everyone will please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Open session to appear.
No one has requested to appear.
Thank you. The consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Heath to approve the consent agenda. Seconded by Mr. Purcell. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Information updates, new high school project, Mr. Rick Ott with MB Con and Miss Ashley Davis with Mosley Architects.
Thank you, folks. It's a pleasure to be here again.
I noticed we got some modifications made to our
Oh.
yes, very nice, very nice. So, a week or so ago, after our last meeting, Dr. Farrell texted me, says, time to go to work. Board's made a decision, option 2. So great. And myself and Ashley was on the text message. And so we chat a little bit and that's it. So I'm walking around at the boat show and I get a call from Ashley and she said, Rick, took all the board comments and I got the new plan done. I said, Ashley, board's already made a decision. We're supposed to be working. She said, but Rick, I didn't get the thing. I said, didn't you get the text message? No, what text message? And so apparently Dr. Farrell had sent it to her office phone, not her cell phone. I said, well, Ashley, the board's made a decision. She said, but Rick, it's really good. I took those comments from the board and put it in there and it's really good. So I sent it to Dr. Farrell and Dr. Farrell said, yeah, I really like this. I think this is worth at least considering as an option. And so here we are tonight to show you this last and final option and see whether or not this is something that the board thinks is an improvement after, incorporating some of the comments that we heard from board members themselves. Thank you. So Ashley, I am going to turn it over to you.
Oh, okay, great.
Now, if y'all want to hear about boats, I can tell you about boats, but Ashley's been working hard.
Well, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on option 2. I think you all have seen it. I don't think there's any questions related to that. And Sissy, I apologize. I'm all in your way. So this is option 5 hybrid. And what I had heard was we needed a hybrid. So we have refused to go to option 6. This is the hybrid. And so what you see here, everything really to the south of the corridor there, that main corridor, has not changed. This is really in relation just to the classroom spaces. And so what I took away from the last board meeting that I attempted to incorporate was that In some of our other options, we were dividing classrooms, or the science wasn't near the academic classrooms. We still wanted to keep CTE together. And there was a lot of travel and concern about congestion within hallways. And so what we feel this option 5 does, or option 5 hybrid does, is it kind of takes care of all of those things. It allows us to have the connection between the 2 classroom pods there. We actually labeled the area 26 as the outdoor learning lab. We think that this area could be secure. We could have some nice fencing, to keep this area secure, along with the courtyard space. That outdoor area could be covered, so that basically it truly would be an extension of these extended learning areas from either side or both sides, just depending on what's going on at the time. And so we still have room for all of our future expansion. That was another thing when we came back with that other option. We hadn't shown where future expansion, and we just kind of tried to explain it. So we really thought through where this is future classroom expansion. What ends up happening is that this wing closest to me actually shortened up. So it allowed us to have the same amount of future classroom space as you see in option 2 here. It's between 12 and 14 classrooms, just depending on how it gets laid out. And the exact same thing occurs with this future classroom that you see up to the north there. Still allows for the future auditorium, future auxiliary gym, and the future classrooms associated with early college. Now, I have not had Kim with Timmons really work through the site plan, but I did want to put it on the site plan just so you could see that it fits. It does have some slight rework up in that corner there. She has some great ideas of how that would rework, but overall, everything else fits. We've got some sidewalks that we need to reorient so that they kind of hit that center there for the outdoor learning area. And the thought would be that those gates would allow a vehicle to come in, and we can still get deliveries down into that courtyard, but still allow that to be secure. And so in my conversation with Rick, we've talked about, that courtyard space could really be a pretty exciting space, along with that, the extension from those extended learning areas. We could have glass along the main corridor. There could be planting beds out there. The art patio is going to be out there. There could be any kind of projects that people are working on, whether they be, building something, or maybe something related to any of the other programs, whether it be science or even the general classrooms, just depending on if they needed a big space, and they could utilize that covered space, and it could still be viewed from that corridor with some glass on it. So that is option 5 hybrid. We kind of outlined some pros and cons here. And I won't read through every single one of them, but because I've kind of touched on a lot of them, but it's having better circulation from our academic wings and CTE wings. All the CTE classrooms are together. Science spaces have association with that CTE area. So we have that STEM kind of focus with that side, but they still have really close access to the general classrooms, and they are off of that extended instructional area, which was something else that we heard. Then we have closer proximity. It still leaves the room for expansion, the ability to have that covered area, which was something that we were attempting to do, but it wouldn't function quite like this in option 2. And then improve supervision of the students, because you really could supervise from the corridors better than some of the other options that we showed. The cons, we do have these 2 CTE classroom spaces that don't have exterior windows. They're indoor. Now they are right associated with all the labs. So all the labs would have windows and roll up doors and all that. So, it's a con, but I don't think it's the largest con that we have, or as negative as some things. Require site design adjustment. That was the thing I mentioned where we're kind of overlapping some parking spaces. So we will have to readdress that. And it is slightly over the square footage of option 2. So you can see here, this one is 123, 122, and this one is 122, 660. So we've bumped up a little bit, but I think in both of these options, our goal is to get back down to what the budgeted square footage allows So, you know, I don't think that either one of these kind of bust us on the overage.
And I would add budget, schedule, future expansion, they're roughly equivalent. But I do want to go back and reiterate, having been involved in this business for a long time, circulation is something that we always pay a lot of attention to. And this plan, one of my biggest concerns is that this is going to become an extremely busy corridor. It is going to be packed with kids all the time because these folks are going over here, these folks are going over here. Everybody's going to the athletic facilities, everybody's going to the cafeteria. It's just going to become very busy. And going back to option 5 hybrid, we do have the ability for the academic wings here, folks to be going through this way. And so I think it does significantly clean up the circulation issue. So there really are no negatives to this option as compared to option 2. We're happy to build either and ready to go. Ashley has not slowed down working. We are already working, moving into DD documents on these spaces. And so tonight, presenting this last option for the board's consideration, we'd like to answer any questions you may have.
You don't, being in Camden, low-lying Camden County, a courtyard just doesn't seem like that. That could be causing maintenance issues.
We don't, under either option, we were gonna have some drainage that we have to take care of. And that drainage was always planned on coming underground through here, whether or not it was option 1 or option 5.5. We still had the same issues that we were have to address. Now, we are not gonna have storm drainage going under any of the part of the building. It will be under sidewalks and that sort of thing. And we intend on, this is going to be a concrete paved area. So it's going to be a functional outdoor learning space.
So I paid that whole number 27 in there?
Yes, sir.
That's gotta be pretty expensive, doesn't it? A lot of concrete.
You know, at a point in time, we're building a school to educate kids. And I don't want to put it on grass where it's going to become a maintenance issue, or whether it's, you know, something that you can't get out and utilize when it's raining. I want to have a space that's really functional. You could have, you know, assemblies out there, you know, that would be a heavily used space. And so we think it's worth the extra funds to go ahead and pave that space.
What about with that courtyard? Let's say, like if there was a fire or something, how could a fire truck get in, like to access those inner classrooms and?
This area here is going to be open. Now, we do have some gating up here, so it could be secured, but easily you're going to be able to drive vehicles in and out through this area right here, between that area.
And we will have meetings, that is not based on your question, but we will have meetings with first responders fully about the project too.
We have to put a lot of fire risers and things like that in the school, so that won't be an issue. If a fireman wants to get in, he can get in. So. And I will say, Ashley was right. In having designed and built a lot of high schools, I do believe this is a superior option. And I think long-term, you'll be happier with this, especially from an operations standpoint.
I'm with Kevin on some of that. That's a lot of concrete. I think that's going to be an inexpensive proposition to concrete or pave that amount of space. And we're already going to be over budget some with either option.
if you recall, in the other option, we had always planned for outdoor spaces that were gonna be outside of the classrooms and that sort of thing. In effect, what we've done is consolidate all that space into one area now. So there was always a plan for outdoor, concrete, for outdoor learning spaces, and that goes back to the original program that we had.
It doesn't necessarily have to be all paving. I mean, we can have mulched areas. I think where Rick's going is we're not gonna just hope that the grass grows, right? It can be some softscape in there too. And there might, the building and the program may tell us that we need some of that in there, but we don't want you to think that, you need to bring your mower in here and try to mow some, soggy grass. That's not the goal for that space. It's to make it as usable as possible for the students.
And with these other areas, like for option 2, I'm talking about that hallway being congested. How wide is that hallway?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I want to say it's probably 20 feet.
And then, could the kids not walk outside?
So they could. The one thing about that is that anytime they're outside in this option, it's secure. Anytime they're outside in this option, there's not a concise way to make that secure.
There really isn't a good path outside. You could walk out here and come around back through here, but again, you got secure doors. And that's one of the things that Amber has had conversations with us about since day one. Security is of number one concern. And so while you could do it, it probably would be defeating the security of the envelope of the building.
I actually like, I could go with either. I actually like the, I think it works.
What about your idea?
But that was just a fixed option 2. That was just like the whole original back, if you go back to option 2, was that it's, the CTE didn't like those 2 classes there.
Right.
So I was just wondering why we just couldn't extend the CTE wing by the width of one class, one on each side. And that way it gets them over there on that wing. And then we could convert those classes into the 3. And it gives us 3 extra Gen A classes, which we would need too.
Well, that was kind of what fostered option 5. If you remember back when we were listening to what the feedback was the board giving us on option 2, we were talking about, widening this out here in order to get those classrooms back. It really gets more difficult to keep stacking things out. And then when you add more classrooms here, we were adding more space as opposed to getting closer back to our budgeted space. And so that was one of the reasons when Ashley kind of came back with the hybrid option, that solved actually both problems without adding significant additional space. Dr.
We could use the additional space. I don't think that's ever going to be a problem.
Well,
We'll be needing that.
more
And
than
maybe we
likely,
could pull the money from, other, like if we decide not to do the artificial turf, that gives us a funding source for additional space actually in the building.
well, and I was
Natural.
going to follow up. I didn't want to bog this part of the presentation down with that, but I do believe that the legislature is going to provide some additional funds for capital projects. And so if those funds do become a reality, I think this board will have some additional monies that they could add to this project to add some of the things back that we've had to cut in order to maintain the budget. Dr. Banks had a question that I wanted to address. Ashley, go back to the option 5. I think it was pushing this out. If we did that, I think it pushed it too far out. And so we really like kind of having this proximity in a little closer in. And again, still being able to utilize this enclosed courtyard. So we were able to accommodate the fencing here and cover that and be able to still have access and still have a secure area.
Yeah, we looked at that and it just, the addition starts becoming, we need that little arm, basically.
But your other suggestions were really great, and after Ashley started incorporating them, it started really making a lot of good sense.
But there are no additional classrooms in here, and that's not easily addable. Where if we could just do that to option 2, extend that by the width of a classroom, you would gain 3 gen ed classrooms right off in the design as we proceed.
Well, we do have the ability for future classrooms all the way across if need be. Or extend these out, extend this out and still keep this pathway through. Again, it's, we serve the board's pleasure. And so ultimately, you folks as board's gonna make this decision along with the educators in the room and what's gonna serve the county best.
I'm kind of with you because I think that, but I mean, I need your input too, because if we did extend this, I mean, I know that we have plans for future classrooms and everything, but this would be done with the building of the school.
Yeah, it would
This
be
wouldn't be
now.
anything in addition that we would have to go to the taxpayers with. It would be 2 additional classrooms or
It'd be 3.
whatever, 3.
I mean, you'd add to the CT wing, we would gain you 3 additional gen eds. So I mean, the square footage would probably go up, I don't know, 2,500. I don't know what that would be. To get I don't know what is the square footage of those 2 purple classrooms right there? Is that might be 4,000? I don't know.
I don't know off the top of my head. A gen classroom is 750, so.
750.
But the spaces that we're duplicating are these spaces here.
So it's 3 750.
Yeah, that'd probably be close to, that's probably like 3 750 student classrooms. Because we would have to basically build this space here somewhere.
So we'd add
And go out.
2250, but we're already like 600 below 5. So, or 500 below 5, I guess.
Either,
About 1,700 more square foot
yeah,
than option 5 to do that. But then you gain 3 gen ed classrooms that we could definitely use to give us some room for growth with this building instead of having to do it in the future, like Sissy said, with the tax increase. And
well, the only thing I would add is that's kind of working against the budget. We're trying to get a little smaller
Right, that's what I was saying,
rather
we
than
could
going
go
bigger.
artificial turf go back to natural.
Right.
That brings 300,000 to throw it to 1,700 and
It does, and
that gigantic concrete. I mean, I understand we have concrete out here too, but it can't be that much. That 20, that's as big as the gym. That's gotta be a good chunk of change there that could go towards actual classroom square footage too, I would think. I mean, I know we still gonna have concrete on these outdoor spaces here too, but I can't imagine it would be equivalent to what that number 27 is on that option 5 plan.
well, we had,
That's massive.
what we had planned for is we were gonna have concrete out here, we were gonna have concrete out here, we were gonna have some concrete in this area here. So, outdoor pads,
Yeah,
because that's part of the program is to have,
Right.
outdoor learning.
but that's good for those
And
people to
so-
finish right on top of their class and they don't have
Right.
to
So
go
if
all
you
the way to the courtyard. to
flip
get
back to number 5. What we tried to do is consolidate that into an area that as you're up and down these corridors here, you'll be able to really see that program. That's kind of, we refer to it as fishbowl of learning when you actually bring those projects and things out to the public to see. So that
Now, 15, 15, 15, 15, and 15 would now lose their adjacent concrete padding.
Yeah.
No.
So we're not really,
So what
That's not
Rick's
facing-
saying
yeah,
is
facing-
we're taking the concrete padding from here and here, and some of this, because we do have some 15s that are adjacent, and then consolidating those into here. So,
I think the flow of option 5 and the security of option 5 are superior to option 2.
And also, couldn't you effectively, if budget allows, you could add more classrooms on the end of that wing where future classrooms are already at in the
Absolutely.
hybrid?
Absolutely. If you need more classrooms, we can add more classrooms here, more classrooms here.
That would cut into that parking that you said.
We're gonna have to do a little bit of modification, so. But, really, it's, a lot of it's functionality. And, I think the people that is gonna live in the school and operate the school would, probably ought to weigh in on that.
That's a great question. Ms. Davis, have you seen this new option before
Yes, sir.
tonight?
Yes,
Okay.
sir, I have.
What's your take? What's your people's take?
I really like that it connects the two wings, pods, whatever you want to say, with that. I worry, if you go back to option 2, if a student has a class in that upper left yellow, and they have to walk all the way to a CTE classroom, not only is that corridor the main for everything, but you're also looking at time it's gonna take for them to get there. I mean, that's just where my mind goes, is scheduling and what we're gonna do with that. That's a lot, in my opinion, to look at those kinds of things. And I do worry about, like Mr. Oz said, congestion in that main corridor. That's a lot of people to put. I know it's gonna be larger, than these halls we have here, which is hard for us to imagine. But I do have concerns about that. I really like, the option to get from one pod, wing, whatever, to another, with that. And I would be very hesitant to, if you start sending kids outside changing classes and doors are on, like, I personally would not have it unless I was directed otherwise to do it, because the security is just too difficult with that. So I really like option 5, the layout, how it combines those two pieces. I think it makes for a much better flow within the school, and it's able to keep security, I think, easier to handle within the school. So I like it. And it puts, even though science is now still kind of with CT, it's still right there with your other academic areas. So it kind of doesn't, I think CTE is all together in that one, so it doesn't separate really any of the courses or the subjects. So, and I also like the idea of the long extended learning area with that.
CTE, everything kind of together.
I feel like it's more
A lot
blended.
better.
I don't know if that makes sense, but it just kind of all comes together in this one a little more for me. And when I think about running from, like, the kids, my time to get from corner to corner in heels, so. But no, I do, I like this one a lot.
Could our student board members weigh?
I mean, I like how option 5 is, because I know it takes me a lot to walk from class to class. And like, especially with different classes, like yearbook, I have to walk all the way down to the ag classroom and then go back to the science classroom. That one might make it easier for different classes. I agree, I like how it looks.
So I guess from here, then, if there's no more questions or no more comments, is we need to give Mr. Wright and Ms. Ashley some direction of where we're going.
We would appreciate that. That way we won't have any communication issues later.
don't text me, tell me now.
I corrected her phone number. What a terrible, terrible situation. But if the board decides to go with this option and we get then, hey, it was,
I feel like everything happens for a reason.
Everything
Even if
happens
it
for a
started
reason.
a conversation, and that's all it did.
If you could, just remind, Go through a little bit, remind us. What's the process from here?
Good question. Well, at the next phase that we are working on actually has already started that next phase. It's called design development. And from that, we take this and we actually blow it up to where it starts looking like a real construction plan. You see the thickness of walls, you start seeing where receptacles are. We'll lay furniture out and show you how a teacher would work. We go back to the school. We're working with the staff again to individualize those individual spaces now. And again, we will bring that back to the board again, along with a budget and show you where we're at the end of DD. The board will then take action on that. And then once that takes place, we move into construction documents where the engineers start putting the details on it, the types of materials, that sort of thing. And those will be the set of documents that we use to actually bid the project. And of course, before we bid the project, we'll be back in front of the board with the final design. But I think once you get the design development and you see the level of detail there, it'll start really looking like a school. You'll see elevations, materials, roof lines, all that sort of thing that you don't see in a schematic. And, I'm really hopeful that the legislature does step up and provide some much needed funds to K-12 education in the state. I think just a little bit more money for this project would go a long ways. And so I'm very hopeful that it happens. We won't know, of course, until they take action to do that. But, based on my read, I'm very hopeful that that would happen. I'd encourage you to contact your legislators and ask them to step up and do it. They were going to do it last year. And when COVID came in, that kind of got set aside. I think there's somewhat of some additional monies in the General Assembly right now, so we should take advantage of that. And those will be things that we'll add back as well. So the other thing we'll be doing when we actually bid the project, we're going to be taking some ad alternates that we talked about. So if bids come in very, very favorably, we can add back some additional scope items. We've got some contingency funds, not a lot of contingency in the project, but again, the board can make the decision to expend some of those contingency funds in added scope and that sort of thing. So you will have a lot of additional input into the process as we move forward.
So the future classrooms for 5, it's equivalent to 2's future?
Yes, sir.
It is, okay. I think my biggest concern is this 5 just looks like the cost per square foot is going to be a lot higher.
Actually, I had my estimators look at it, and we think we could actually construct this a little cheaper than we can the other option, even though it's slightly over the square footage than option 2. Because we don't have quite the same amount of circulation space, and more of it's converted to extended learning areas. So.
If it's cheaper, then that makes a big difference. It
It-
looks,
we-
with all that concrete, it looks expensive. Like
Yeah,
a
we're not talking about a lot of money. And again, this is not all extras. We mentioned we're consolidating individual spaces into a larger space, which in my mind is actually more functional because you got a bigger space. It's safer too. Correct.
It's a lot safer.
I mean, it's not my school, but I will tell you, I see a lot of advantages, and the biggest in my mind, everything else being equal, is circulation and supervision. I think this is a safer option. It's easier to supervise, and from a circulation standpoint, both from the student and the administration level, I think this is a superior option. But I'm happy to build either one. No, ma'am. That I'll assure you.
I'd be concerned as far as drainage goes. I mean, I would be concerned about drainage the same way in option two, where you've got that long finger between the two wings.
It's more open.
Yeah, but it's it's got watershed off of both of those roofs. It's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, but this one's got watershed from all four directions. That one, you have a courtyard, it comes from every.
Well, when you
direction.
sign on to build in Camden County, you know you got some drainage issues. If you can't solve those problems, you shouldn't be working here.
We have a courtyard all.
We got a good plan to deal with that. We got a good engineer, done a lot of work here. in
You're
this
gonna have to
area.
put like tile and sump, I guess, and, or you think just natural drainage will be able to get it out of that?
We intend on piping the drainage out around the building and through this area. It'll all be piped. I mean, personally, this is not the area to do a lot of surface drainage. We will do some of it in outlying areas and obviously the field, but around the building, 75, 80-year lifespan building, we need to get it piped and get it out.
Y'all like it better. I mean, they're confident that we won't have any issues and it won't cost us anymore. Not against it. I like having a little bit of extra classrooms, but we won't get that here, but that's the only drawback, I guess.
Well, I haven't heard him say no to new classrooms yet.
I don't know where you would put them though. I guess you'd have to extend out into that future. You'd have to go ahead and do a piece of that, I guess.
I mean, it's a function of, just adding additional spaces. And one of the benefits of design build is we're flexible. And so we can, if need be, we can add on things like that, even into the summer, if we find out we've got additional funds and the board wants to add some of those funds to this project, we can make those decisions in and do that easy enough.
I guess you would just go ahead and do that right there where the future is already allocated.
Correct,
We
sir.
did get the extra one.
Correct.
Yeah, that or on the early college and one of the other.
Maybe Mad Daddy's auxiliary gym back, who knows?
I'm all over, I ain't, you see, we're even putting names in the paper who makes movies, no, I ain't making this movie.
Y'all prefer us to leave and then text us? Well,
I can't
The
make
the chair is gonna make a motion that we proceed with option 5 hybrid as presented on 4/15/21.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Dr. Banks. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Ashley, did you get that?
I think so. Can you text me?
No,
Thank you very much.
if anything changes, I'll call you.
There you go. Get my voice.
And did we make a decision on groundbreaking day?
No.
Question I have.
We can move that stuff up.
You have,
That's a question I have. No, I don't get to make that decision, but I have that question.
Well, text us and let us know, because
I'd like to be.
we're getting excited about groundbreaking, and I know the folks in the community are getting excited about it, so let's go break some ground. Thank you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Travel safe. Ms. Stevens, the principal of Camden Early College High School, will give us a school highlight.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm bringing you greetings from Camden Early College. Thank you for having me here tonight to share some highlights from the Camden Early College from this year. This year, we have seen a year of changes. This year, we started out August the 10th with our staff development days. Our first day of school was August the 12th. In September, our staff got together and we dropped off T-shirts for freshmen. We visited all of our freshmen, incoming freshmen. The staff got together and hosted a drive-through senior breakfast for all of our seniors. In a year of changes, this is exciting news right here. This is our new hallway where all of our trailers are closed in now, one long hallway. You guys got to come see it. It's really good. The kids love it. Teachers like it. It's very safe now. And we also have restrooms, which is another good thing. Students love being able to stay right in our building now. And as our students get ready to come back in the fall on October the 29th, we start preparing and we are showing students where to go in accordance with the state guidelines. Our students were divided into two groups. We had Group A coming on Monday and Group B coming on Friday. And then we had Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays for remote days. Back in the fall, our local SPCA was in desperate need of dog food. So our history teacher, Ms. Pam DeGunion, set up with her students, set up a food drive, and we were able to purchase 100 pounds of dog food, 40 pounds of cat food, and 12 pounds of kitten food for the SPCA. And at Christmas time, all of the staff had some visitors. They all had some little elves to help them out. And then towards the end of the week, the elves all got together in the lounge and had a little party. And as we returned back to school March the 29th, we were all excited to welcome back our students. We actually have a real good turnout. We have 85 students that are on campus and 78 who chose to remain remote. Our students were involved with Spirit Week, along with the high school here and with homecoming night. And we also recently celebrated Miss Gwen's retirement. And we also named our Teacher of the Year, Miss Jennifer Lilly, who was our EC teacher for both schools. Any questions or comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Lasher, Chief Academic Officer, give us an update on House Bill 82. So, Ms. Lasher, welcome to your first week of work and your first board meeting in Camden
welcome.
County.
Thank you. Good evening. Thanks for letting me share House Bill 82 with you. I am new, just started on Monday, so excited to be here and excited to serve the students and staff of Camden County. So just wanted to go over some information that we just found out about this week or finalized this week, I guess we could say. I wouldn't even say it's finalized as we go through some of this. You'll get to hear that. So House Bill 82 is our summer learning choice for our families. And what it's basically saying is that we have to offer some face-to-face instruction for our students to try to close some of those learning gaps that resulted from COVID-19. All LEAs must offer 150 hours or 30 days of summer learning. And that's where we're getting a little bit of different information. We've heard that it could be that big word or there. It can be 150 hours or it can be 30 days. And we've got some different responses when we've reached out to DPI about that. So we're waiting to hear what the final say is. If we can do days, then we can look at offering half days for our students. It's been a lot on our teachers this year, a lot on our students, a lot on our families. If we have to go the 150 hours, we're looking at 6 weeks, hopefully 4 days a week, but those would be full days, running full days of school. Of course, we would be prioritizing our students at risk for failure first. I'm starting to have conversations with principals to go through that on how to identify our most at-risk learners and who we would invite. And then for our grade level requirements, here we have our funding sources and I don't know that we need to get into that too much, but we do need to submit our plan 30 days prior, which is for us would be more around May 4th than that May 12th date. So we don't have a lot of time to get a plan together for our families. Things that we do have to include, of course, is transportation under Plan A daily meal, looking at probably breakfast and lunch. We do have to include a physical activity, small group, or individual instruction for our at-risk students. We need to be able to offer some socio-emotional support, of course, outreach to increase voluntary participation, and then there will be some assessments that we need to give that will be provided by the State Board of Education. Grade level requirements, K-8 must have in-person reading and math for instruction K-2, and then you add science on for our 3-8 learners. That will be, if you remember in the past, we've always had our summer reading camp for our K-3 students for the Read to Achieve. That will be integrated into the summer reading program, and then a daily enrichment must be offered. For 9-12, you must have in-person instruction for all of your EOC subjects, as well as modules and teacher support for credit recovery for graduation courses and an in-person instruction for an elective. So it's a lot that needs to be offered for our kids this summer. We cannot retain kindergarten students if they participate in the summer reading program. And then we would assess all other grade levels at that time. So we will be able to use NCVPS for our high school students. And, like no instruction on Saturdays, just so you know that. We won't ask anyone to come on Saturdays. Really trying to not ask anyone to come on Fridays as well, but we'll see how that goes. So just wanted to share this with you. Like I said, we just basically got this week, so we're working on a plan and working with our principals to develop so we can get that information out to our families as soon as possible so they can make a decision on whether they're going to attend or not. Any questions?
Were there classroom size restrictions on K-3 like there is in regular? Did they discuss that at all?
No, sir.
No further questions? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Norfleet, Chief Finance Officer, to discuss retirement of the state installment system.
In the past, 10-month employees such as teachers and teacher assistants were able to, instead of getting paid 10 months out of the year, they were able to do installment pay. So they were still able to get paid for June and July. DPI sent out a memo stating that as of July 1st, 2021, they will no longer support the installment program. It'll still happen this summer because, of course, the escrow payments are already coming out of those checks. But we still have to provide an option for those employees to still get 12 paychecks a month, some form or fashion. I consulted with the board attorneys. DPI also talked with some and got back with us and said that the State Employees Credit Union Summer Cash is an option that will work. So yesterday, and I believe you got this memo in your packet, that went out to all employees that are now eligible for installment pay, whether they're on it or not. So of course, we told them what was going to be happening, and we gave them two options that they consider. Of course, they can pick whatever option they want. They can choose just to get 10 paychecks and figure it out on their own and budget and put money aside, but sometimes that's hard to do when you see money sitting there. So we gave them the credit union summer cash program, and we provided the pamphlet that the credit union provided us. We gave each teacher one. There's some in teachers' lounges. Some individual banks also provide something that's similar. So if they don't bank with the credit union, they can choose their own. The only other thing that's going to affect them is going to be their deductions. With the deductions we have through peers groups such as vision, dental, if they were on installments, they pick 12 deductions for the year. Now it's going to have to be 10 deductions since they're no longer getting a paycheck from us June and July of next year. So that will happen during open enrollment in October to take effect in January. So they'll see a little bit of change in how much comes out of their paycheck each month. And the same thing with our Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance. If they have the 70-30 plan, that's $25. They would have to have $50 set aside for June and July. So each month we will take out an additional $5 out of their check. And then in the summer, pay their part of their insurance with it. So they don't have to worry about that part during the summer. The good thing is they're getting interest on their money in some form instead of the state getting interest. Some LEAs, especially bigger ones, have already changed from doing this and have elected to do it on their own. But to me, I cannot imagine us holding somebody's money when they can hold it themselves and earn interest on that. To me, it's just too hard to keep up with what each person pays each month. And then in turn in June and July, figure out how much they get. Where with these options, whatever they have in that account, they get half in June and half in July. So far I've only had 3 phone calls from employees about it. And most of them fine. They're just a little bit scared they're going to shortchange themselves. But I talked to one today when we kind of figured she'll actually end up getting more in her paycheck throughout the year as well as the summer with the way it looks like it's going to work. So
Those deductions for insurance and all that's pre-tax, right?
yes. There's some of the Pierce ones are not, like some of the term group life are not pre-tax, but most are. The health insurance, vision, and dental are. Because in the 2 times in the summer, they get paid from whichever option they choose. They don't have to worry about taxes. They don't have to worry about deductions because that's been already taken care of on the front end each pay. So, are there any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right, it's that time of year again that we start talking about the superintendent's evaluation. You should have been presented in our pack tonight, the superintendent's self-evaluation. Also in your package was the timeline. Wanted to highlight a couple of dates on that. April 30th date is if any board member has any request of information for the superintendent in order to perform the evaluation, put a deadline of April 30th on that to get it to the superintendent, which in turn gives him until May 13th to collect that information and distribute it to all board members. And the other date is June 3rd to have your evaluation completed and returned to our attorney's office, in which they will compile all of them and we will bring together at our June 10th meeting to have discussion and come hopefully to consensus of the superintendent's evaluation. Anybody have any questions on that? All right. And also remember, as you're going through the evaluation, to come up with one goal for the superintendents. Student board member updates. Who would like to go first?
For Granny Primary School, before spring break, the Easter Bunny visited GPS and brought candy to all the classrooms. Kindergarten and first grade students also participated in their annual egg hunt. GPS would like to thank the Parks and Rec Department for their support with the fun and exciting activity. Administrative Assistant Day is April 21st, and GPS would like to thank Marie Ivins and Maria Brickhouse for all they do for the students, staff, and parents. April 22nd, GPS will be celebrating Earth Day by wearing blue, green, or brown and participating in a variety of earthly activities from cleaning up the playground to planting flowers. Teacher Appreciation Week begins May 2nd. GPS appreciates all the hard work and dedication they put into supporting our students. Kindergarten and first grade field day is scheduled for May 4th, 2nd, May 4th. I cannot read today. And second and third grade will be held on May 6th. The event will take place both days from 8:30 to 12. May 6th is Nurses Day, and GPS would like to thank Nurse Scott and all of our other nurses for keeping our students and staff safe during the school year. On May 13th and 14th, GPS will be holding its annual fun run. This is the first fundraiser of the year, and they are planning for it to be a huge success. Lots of information will be going home over the next 2 weeks, and the donation process has already started. Finally, GPS would like to congratulate Rebecca Hassel for being voted as 2021 GPS Teacher of the Year. For Camden Intermediate School, Penny Wars is the week of April 12th. Bullying Awareness Week is also the same week. The third round of NC check-ins is the week of April 19th. Their Spring Picture Day is Friday, April 23rd, with their Spirit Week the week of April 26th. Their sixth grade student parent-teacher transition meeting will be on Zoom with Mr. Mazzell April 27th. CIS is kicking off a modified version of PBSI in the month of April in order to establish the behavior supports needed to improve social, emotional, behavioral, and academic outcomes for all students. For Camden Middle School, Camden Middle and Camden Intermediate are working together to prepare sixth grade students for the 2021-22 school year. A virtual school visit is scheduled for April 27th. Cub Nation Spirit Week. CMS Cub Council rescheduled their Spirit Week to April 19th or April 23rd due to transition to Plan A. Students can participate in the following for theme days: Maui Monday, Tacky Twin Tuesday, We Love Our Cubs Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, and Fan Friday. For Camden Early College, Camden Early College celebrated Miss Quinn's retirement and recognized Jennifer Lilly as Teacher of the Year. Camden Early College participated in Spirit Week and Homecoming. And for the high school, women's soccer and softball are in full swing. Football ended its season last Saturday with a huge win over Gates. Baseball and track practice started this week, and games and meets will begin next week. We are about to be in full-on class of 2021 celebration mode. Senior yard signs will be delivered on April 28th. Graduation announcements can be picked up on April 29th. We had a senior meeting this Tuesday and had a senior parent meeting last night. Senior parade and cookout will be May 8th. Senior awards are May 26th, and graduation information has been sent out to all students and parents. We are working with Grandy Primary and Camden Intermediate on a graduate walkthrough date and time. Please feel free to join us on any of our Class of 2021 celebrations. Our amazing Teacher of the Year is Ms. Jennifer Glass. We have a lot of celebrations planned for Administrative Assistance Day, Teacher Appreciation Week, and Nurses Day, which are all in late April, early May. Prom is April 30th, and we would love to see you all there.
Thank you for those presentations. You have your monthly financial update and your board package. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you. Proposed budget for the Camden County Board of Education fiscal year July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2022. Ms. Norfleet, our Chief Financial Officer.
And Ms. Norfleet and I are gonna tag team this. So, I'm going to hit some highlights. At our last meeting, I shared with you all the presentation that I plan to use to share with staff next week. All of those are scheduled for next week, except maybe CIS, I think, and that's the following week. And so we have a time to go out and share budget information. Very, very quickly, remember that's, timeline information, priorities information, talk a little bit about the 5 years of operating expenses, funding losses, increased expenses, the budget request from our schools and central office for the 21-22 school year, how all that merges together, and then talk a little bit about fund balance to make sure people have a full understanding of how that works. And then there have been a lot of questions lately about ESSER funding, the CARES Act funding. And so I want to be, in the name of transparency, we want to share with people how much money has come and how much money is still coming, where ESSER 2 or the first round that we received was $127,156. And that money was, and what that money was spent on, custodial contracts, PPE and things like that. Of course, you heard from Ms. Lasher earlier this evening about the upcoming summer school from the passage of House Bill 82. And so our ESSER 2 funding in the amount of $498,000 approximately, that money will go toward summer school and some other things. And then, of course, we anticipate ESSER 3 coming at some point, and our allotment there is a little over $1 million. But we don't have all the guidelines on how that is to be spent at this time, except 20% of it is to be spent on learning loss. I think it's really important, and Ms. Norfleet and I have talked about this quite a bit. It's really important to be clear that we are given until 2024.
ESSER 3 is 2024.
So we're given until 2024 to spend this money. And so we don't think that it is wise to go on a shopping spree. We think that it is probably, they gave us an extended amount of time for a reason, because of all the things that are unknown, that are still to come. As far, we don't know when we'll be doing, what we'll be doing for summer school next year. We don't know if there are going to be some requirements for extended learning during the coming year. We're not sure if we are going to be required or not to offer remote learning option to students next year. And if so, are there some ways to utilize some of that money to make that happen, to lessen the burden on our classroom teachers so that they're not responsible for face-to-face and remote. So we want to be transparent about the CARES money and how much we're getting and kind of what our plan is. But we don't want to be like, yay, it's time to go shopping and let's spend all this money, because then here we are a year down the road and we need some of it for something that it was intended for, and we've already spent it. So that's one of the things we're going to share. And then we're going to share the 2021-2022 budget request, and Ms. Norfleet's going to talk you through that a little bit.
Following our budget work session in March, we had all chosen to go with the first version that we had looked at, which was.
I'm sorry. I'm working on a lot of them.
With that version, we have updated a little bit. So the proposed budget that I'm asking approval for is that same version, but we did add the CTE Learning Lab into that same version. So that version includes a 3% cost of living for the non-certified positions across the school system, as well as the CTE Learning Lab and any additional where we lost, it's estimated we're going to lose 2 teaching positions in the teacher allotment. And because everything is tied to ADM, that trickles down to other PRCs. Some of that was able to find within other state funds, but the rest just trickle down to local funds. So what we would be asking the county for their appropriation for the new year would be $3,057,538. for their part.
And that is an increase
Yes, 'cause-
over last year.
yes, the 2.6.
Of $457,538, but that is asking for what we need. And then, of course, the capital request remained the same as the last time we met, which is
That didn't change.
$530,610.
Because our ADM is, last year, it was held harmless at 1888, and they're estimating we're gonna have 1827 this coming school year.
With no hold harmless.
Right.
This year, for the coming year. And the reason that I decided to offer this, to add the CTE College and Career Ready Lab for $63,350 to this budget request, is one of the things that our middle school administrators and teachers feel, our CTE director feels, and I agree with all of them, is this lab will encourage, so it will be connected. So it'll give our students an opportunity to see early on what courses we offer here at our high school, CTE courses. And there are some really neat things there. I've watched a lot of the videos on it. And Carol Overton is going to take me and take LeVar Mazel down to Greenville next week to see an actual lab in a middle school. And so those modules, for lack of a better word, Carol, if she's watching, I think it's modules, but those would give our students an opportunity to know early on and get an idea or a taste of what CTE programs we have. I was just really, really impressed with it. And so I thought it was worthwhile to add to our budget, because one of the budget requests from the county, because one of the things that I've actually talked with our county manager about, and from time to time, some of our commissioners have shared their desire to see more options for students where career technical education are concerned. And this is certainly something that would be super encouraging to our middle school students to look forward to as they come to high school. So that's why I added that to the budget requests with your approval, of course. So any more questions for either of us?
When's the presentation to the?
So I'm meeting with Mr. Bowman tomorrow to go through all of this, and then we present on April 29th.
We don't have a time.
We don't have a time yet. Okay.
And I have to give our budget request to them on Tuesday, the 20th.
As far as our budget timeline is concerned, we are, if you all approve our budget tonight, we have only two more things on that timeline, and that is to turn it over to the county on the 20th and then present to the commissioners on the 29th. So, yeah, if there are no more questions, my recommendation is that you approve this budget as presented by Ms. Norfleet.
A motion by Ms. Abbott to accept the superintendent's recommendation for the proposed budget as presented by Ms. Norfleet for the July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022 fiscal year. That was a long part of that.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Purcell. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Lane, Chief Student Services Officer, will bring us the draft 2021-22 school year calendars.
Good evening. The only new information I have to bring to you is the final survey results. We had 248 people respond. 208 were in favor of the December end of first semester, and 40 were in favor of traditional. So that's 84% for first semester ending in December, and 16% for ending with a traditional calendar. And Brandy Primary School and the high schools were the two schools that that responded the most.
Is that a combination of parent and employees or just employees?
It was anybody that.
Anybody that want,
Yeah,
okay.
it was anyone.
Was the option there for the August 16th start date versus August 23rd, or was it
Just the 23rd,
pending just the
right.
23rd?
Because it doesn't appear that we're going to get that option to do with the August 16th.
Without parents being specific anyway, because I know a lot of people that, you know,
Right.
Yeah, we've been pretty much told that August 16th is off the table, particularly with House Bill 82 passing.
I'm impressed with the amount of enthusiasm the teachers have presented with the December end of semester, because that was my concern, was the difference in the number of instructional days, but they're very enthusiastic about it, and they're actually ready to roll. And it does give everyone a true break. So when the holiday starts, then the kids are finished. They don't have to worry about coming back to take exams. Teachers don't have plans that they have to worry about continuing instruction for the first semester. It's a true break, and I think that's very beneficial, especially in light of the way this year has been.
So my recommendation is that you approve those two calendars, the one, well, are you going to present more with the early
No, sir.
college?
The early college calendar is pretty much what it usually is.
Camden Early College High School calendar as presented, and the traditional calendar for the other schools with the August 23rd start and the end of first semester at the prior to the holiday break.
So a motion by Dr. Banks to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the 2021-22 calendars of Camden Early College as presented and the 2021-22 traditional school calendar with a start date of August 30th and end date first semester at December break. Second.
discussion. When your motion for, your recommendation, Dr. Farrell, was for the 23rd, correct?
The August 23rd start,
You just
yes.
said August 30th in your reading.
I said August 23rd.
Did you say 23rd? That's what I heard.
I don't know, I didn't catch it.
I just want to clarify, that's what we're voting.
Yes, that's what you're voting on,
I swear I
23rd.
did, but I'm not gonna say it.
I like I said, I
Yeah,
didn't
we
do that.
can't start on August 30th.
Yeah, that's why I just wanted to make sure we start the 23rd.
Yes, start date of 23rd.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Heath. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you,
Thank
Ms. Lane. Superintendent's recommendation from closed session.
I recommend that you approve the personnel report as presented by Ms. Anderson in closed session.
Motion by Dr. Banks to accept the superintendent's recommendation for the personnel report as presented by Ms. Anderson in closed session.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Purcell. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Announcements. In your board pack, there was a list of the end of year events coming up for each school. Thank you for pulling those together and presenting to us. And also the Ms. Stratweiser and Ms. Morgan's classes will be holding some plant sales where they will have vegetable plants, bedding plants, and potted plants in the very near future for sale to help support their program and also to show what their students have been doing throughout the school year. And she said, we'll be looking for some advertisements out to the schools and public to take advantage of that. Does anyone have any other business?
I want to know when Dunk Lazar's gonna be.
Yeah,
Real quick, sorry, Ms. Davis,
Oh, yes.
not pushing on the spot, I'm sorry. Have you begun the process of spreading the decision for graduation with the tickets around? Are you getting feedback? Are they?
Yeah, well, I haven't, everybody seemed happy with it. No one has seemed, I mean, I've sent everything out it was emailed to the seniors. It's been on social media. It's on our website. I also sent him a bright arrow call. I actually did that the Friday after was it Friday, Thursday, or whatever day, after you guys voted on it. And then I have had a senior meeting with them this week. And then I had a senior Zoom meeting with parents last night. And I actually had probably like 60 to 70 parents on there. It's the biggest Zoom meeting I've had so far with parents. But nobody's complained yet. Everybody seems happy. So we're moving along with, what we're doing with that. So, just hope for sunny skies that day and a nice night, and we'll be good.
Would you like to put that as a future agenda item for update in May?
Absolutely.
Dr. Farrell? Any other future agenda item requests? Business before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Dr. Banks has made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Adlet. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming. Good evening.